consumer really wants to own their own health.
And we don't have a lot of guidance on how to market these novel products.
They want to have the power to dictate what goes into their bodies.
You can imagine the conflict that our clients face, all trying to figure out a way to get these products that we know that the customers want.
You can actually extract that element of the DNA from the plant and you can grow it in a lab.
Healthy alcohol, forgive the pun, there's been a buzz around it lately. So you've been talking a lot about standards of identity. What about standards of identity in relation to healthy alcohol?
Yeah, it's actually interesting that you go there right after where we just were, because we were talking about standards of identity, and these standards of identity issues are actually presenting in areas you might not think of, like alcohol. So there are specific definitions for different types of traditional spirits and different types of alcohol. And because of this disruption and innovation that we're seeing and the movement towards fortification of beverages or alcohol products and non-alcoholic alcohol products, they're creating a new area and a new set of issues for clients to navigate and getting to market. And I think, where we were talking about FDA and USDA for foods and traditional beverages, we'd have TTB in the alcohol space and their related regulations in terms of what must go on a label and what can go in advertising and related statements. But the overlap is what gets to be interesting, and that's the overlap with FDA and some products that are not necessarily governed by TTB and in the fortification policy issues. So there are, when we're talking about fortification of beverages, it's a hugely growing trend along with a number of different trends that are picking up in the alcohol space.
I'm really interested in the distinction between fortification and supplementing. Mm-hmm. Because the FDA, as we know, has a fortification guidance that went into effect, I think it was in 2015, it was modified. And at the time, the FDA said that I can't remember the exact language in the policy, but it is a little passive. They don't believe that one should fortify an alcoholic beverage. Right. They don't say you can't. And we know that the guidance is just a guidance because on every page of the policy it says this is just a guidance, it's not the law. But when you think about it, fortification comes out when you're putting in vitamin A in flour, or you're putting iron in salt, iodinized salt, right? To satisfy a population's need for those kinds of vitamins and minerals that would naturally be there, but for the conditions of processing, what have you. Supplementing, though, is just a temporary sort of addition that meets the needs of one particular group as opposed to a population. So I think it's going to be really interesting on the idea of what is being put into alcohol. If you're putting some vitamin or mineral in an alcohol and you're marketing it as a beverage to make you calmer or to help you sleep, what have you, is that really a violation of the anti-fortification policy, or in fact is that just a supplement that's part of the natural growth of an industry and innovation?
Or actually I would put a different spin on it. I would say you could put like a B vitamin in it, because you could take a B vitamin, which is supposed to help you actually break down alcohol, prevent hangovers. So if you put a B vitamin in it, that's targeted towards the group that's consuming the alcohol.
Right. That's a really good point too, Tammany, because what we're seeing in terms of the market of the people who are interested in buying non-alcohol, alcohol, or alcohol with these kinds of supplements are the same people who are buying alcohol. So it's not like these are two separate groups. They call them the sober curious. So it would make sense that people who fall into that category would be very interested in a combination of attributes that would allow them to enjoy the life they like to enjoy, but to do so maybe in a more health conscious kind of way. And to say you can't have a healthy alcohol is very paternalistic, which can often be the case.
I call them multitaskers. I'd like to have a vitamin with my alcohol.
Well, you think about it. Americans have terrible diets on the average, right? And if you can get your vitamins that you really do need for a healthy lifestyle through eating something that you actually like, it's not it's not about a way to go. So I think a lot of it will come down to, because the guidance is a guidance, it's not a mandate. So there will be some gray, and there may be some litigation, as we've already seen. And how those companies market it will really be important. Are you marketing it as something that is nutritional versus something that provides that extra boost of vitamin B or whatever it is? The genesis for the policy really was, or the guidance I should say, really was, you can't take a jelly bean, inject it with vitamins, and call it healthy. They call that the jelly bean rule. That's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's interesting too that we're talking about vitamins and minerals, and we see that happening in a number of different food and beverage products. And in this beverage space, we're also seeing in that non-alcohol space fortification with CBD or THC. So it's an opportunity not to drink an alcoholic beverage, but perhaps drink a fortified traditional beverage with another ingredient, arguable what we'll call that ingredient under the circumstances, and get some kind of still euphoric high, or some kind of something that lets you be in that social space without needing to have an alcoholic beverage. And where does that fall then, when we're talking about how it's regulated or how it's going to be litigated, when we have issues across states and federal law?
So that's interesting, Maggie, because if it's not alcoholic, because it's CBD or hemp, then arguably the fortification policy doesn't apply, unless it's carbonated, I guess, and then there's some argument maybe as a carbonated beverage, but it's sort of in the gray there. It's not really encompassed by the fortification policy. But when you talk about the CBD space, I was looking at some stats the other day, and 2021 was a record year of putative class actions involving food and beverage. I mean, there were, I think, 320 some new cases filed across the country, of which there was a growing number of the CBD cases. I mean, I think over the last several years, there's almost 200 cases just on CBD issues. The majority of them, though, or a portion of them, I think, are really related to securities issues that have come up. But that leaves a very significant number of cases in this space. And I can imagine there's only going to be more because there is so limited regulation around the CBD space still.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely right. And what's interesting that what we see with the CBD space, because it is so starving for clear guidance and regulation from the government, is that while hemp has been deemed to be a legal agricultural product, once it is less than 0.3% THC, it is not approved by FDA to be in any foods or beverages, generally speaking. So this is where the states have kind of gone out of their way and said, well, it's okay here. And that's not all the states. It's kind of an odd marriage of jurisdictions. And in terms of those class actions, you're right, a number of them relate to where the investors will say, we didn't know you were going to invest in this risky area, and they get very upset and they file their securities class actions. But a number of them are about the CBD itself and labeling, and does it contain the amount that it should contain that says on the label, and what's the dosage? Is it a dosage? Is it a supplement? What is it? And I think that continues to be a challenge, because with all of these novel products, there's no definitive methodology or testing that has been approved to be used, even an industry standard at this point in time. So whether or not that's true, you could test it 10 different labs and you would get a different answer. And most of the courts, most of these cases have stayed them, saying, hello, FDA, we need you to step up and make some decisions. And we're in the position where we were with natural, where
We still are with natural, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we don't have
Absolutely.
I think this is the year that we were supposed to hear from the FDA on natural, but it's
And healthy.
And healthy. It remains to be seen whether we will.
So along the lines of healthy alcohol being consumer driven, what about adaptogens? It seems like there might be some consumer demand driving that as well.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with adaptogens. I am one of the consumers driving that. But they are basically herbs or mushrooms that can have a positive effect on your mental state, on your health. And so what you're seeing is a lot of consumers looking for products that have adaptogens in them. as a way to get some function out of their food or their beverage. But it's definitely an innovative and developing area of food and beverage.
So with that, you mentioned how unique or how different these ingredients are from what we're normally seeing in a supplement that you might just pick up. That probably brings in some interesting supply chain issues. I mean, I'm certain that where are you getting these ingredients, right? Our clients have to think about what does their supply chain look like with these, sourcing from a number of different countries, a number of different types of unique mushrooms or unique herbs. Are they the purity that they think they are, and what does that present when they're thinking about how to shore up their supply chain and seek different tiers of suppliers even?
It's a huge issue because the consistency and the potency of the ingredients that they're actually getting really does affect the efficacy of the product. So from a regulatory or a claims perspective on the label, in order for them to be able to support their claims, they have to assure that they have a certain level of consistency in their ingredients.
So, personalized nutrition. Who wants to kick us off with this one? This is a growing trend.
Yeah, personalized nutrition has really picked up, and maybe it's a trend that came in the pandemic with people really being interested in what can we do at home to get our make ourselves healthy. So what we're seeing there is it's an opportunity for consumers to identify, whether it's through a survey or a questionnaire. What do I want for my health? Do I want, where do I feel like I'm lacking in vitamins and minerals? Where do the experts think that I need more? And to then have that provided in a supplement based on those answers. And it brings in a lot of interesting issues. It's an interesting space to navigate in getting those products to market to make sure that they are compliant and to make sure that they do meet all of the requirements that you would have in a normal supplement. And when we think about the e-commerce issues that are triggered because you're ordering online and the supply chain, there's just a number of different issues that are going to present, but consumers are demanding it. I mean, they want what they want.
Yeah, and it's interesting in terms of consumers providing information to this entity, right? Check the boxes, this is what I want. And then who knows what the set of raw materials is that can be provided. And then they're combined in different ways depending on what people want. And all of that interaction is actually really important in terms of knowing what that does to the body. So it's a brave new world and space in terms of personalized nutrition. And this is the age of the consumer wanting to own their own health, own their ability to manage their wellness and their aging and all of the things that the body does, and they want to be involved. But it's also an area where there's a lot of data, a lot of information. As Maggie said, e-commerce. I mean, we could spend a whole other day talking about those types of issues.
And Steph, it also raises significant questions about privacy.
Yes.
And HIPAA compliance.
Yes.
And also, where is my data being stored? How is it being stored? Is it being shared? Did I know that it was being shared? It just because I'll fess up to it, I did over the pandemic interact with one of those personalized nutrition. I think they're fascinating. And I saw that the questions were actually pretty detailed. And at the end of the day, I was a little worried. But I think it's a fascinating model, and I'm curious to see how it matures.
I'm curious to see how they use the data, like how these companies actually use the data to provide consumers, whether they're able to use it to provide a more targeted product within regulatory bounds.
And how do they tell you they're using the data?
And how
what claims are they making, right?
Absolutely, and whether people actually understand them.
And Tammy and I were speaking about a lot of these companies that do the personalized nutrition can also do it under an MLM, the multi-level marketing. And multi-level marketing is really interesting because it involves, retaining ambassadors to go out and help market the product that is being made or sold. And you see that a lot in the health and wellness space, whether it's patches or supplements. But ambassadors are not really influencers. They're actually getting revenue from the sales, are making statements publicly. And so as we've seen, what your ambassadors are saying is directly imputed to you as a company, which creates a lot of issues on First Amendment. It creates issues on accountability for label claims and marketing claims that are coming from third parties technically.
especially on social media. I mean, the FTC may disagree with you on whether they are influencers and whether they should be disclosing, that they are making money and being paid off of any social media posts that they make. But what they say on social media ultimately likely will come back to the company, whether it's an MLM or not. And the FTC's made it really clear that they're going to police social media. They, in fact, have hired or free interns they use to literally just comb social media and look for posts that they think are inappropriate. And obviously, MLMs already get attention from the FTC just by terms of the structure of their marketing. So they are likely going to be held accountable for what all of those people say about the benefits of personalized nutrition and personalized health on social media.
So we've talked a lot about innovation and disruption in the marketplace. I'm wondering what this really means for your clients and where do you fit in?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because that's an easy answer for us. I mean, I think we fit squarely into that picture. When our clients have these exciting, innovative projects and need help guiding them through these uncharted waters, whether it's the lack of regulatory existence or, in fact, whether it's relating to product supply that we've talked about today. To be part of that, to help guide them, to be their strategic partner in making sure that their products get to market, but get to market in as justifiable way as possible. That is what we love to do. That is where we can fit in. And as a partner with our clients, it's incredibly gratifying to see their products make it to market. And to be part of that client's ultimate success in the marketplace is incredibly gratifying for us. And it's a fun space to be in.
Very fun space to be in.
Because it's bold, it's innovative, and it's talking about food. Something that we
Brings
all
everyone
love.
together.
It's universal. It's universal.
That's right. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion. It's obvious that you all have an incredible passion for what you do, and that passion has really come through today. Thank you so much.
We're living in a time of alertness where people are very focused on sustainability and on the environment.
Consumers are looking at packaging because it affects the environment, but it's also a health issue.
What's in the ground and what's in the environment, what's in the air. We can test for parts per trillion.
What can I do on my consumer side to help the earth as well?